pas de soleil, pas de soleil, pas de soleil.
Alright, so 2020 was already a crappy year.
All right. Here's Janelise from the future. It's November 2022, and it's taken me almost a year to edit this video. This is a disclaimer to say that even though I am going to upload this in 2022, at the time that I recorded this, it was, in fact, December 2021. And anytime I said this year, it was valid. And anytime I said last year, it was also valid. So if you're having trouble following, this year is 2021 and last year is 2020. Okay? Get with the program and enjoy my video.
Nothing significant I felt like that I read from last year that I'm still thinking about this year. And usually if I had a really good book, that thing will follow me forever. This year, 2021, has been a good reading year. Every single book so far that I've read in this year, knock on wood, it's December, okay? Don't throw any bad lemons my way. But so far, every book that I've read in 2021 has been good. Like, I had a good selection of books from bookstores, from Amazon, from my Kindle, and even books that were recommended to me from like friends, family, my husband. And so overall, I'm very happy with how I spent my time this year reading. There are several books that I have that I just think are my absolute favorite of 2021 that I just want to commemorate. So the criteria for this list is, one, I had to have read the book in 2021. Doesn't matter if it got published this year. The point is, I never set my eyes on it until this year. The second criteria is that I would recommend this book and I would enjoy reading this book again. So if it meets these two criteria, that made it onto my list. Since I have several books, I thought it would be easiest if I categorize them into 4 categories. So my first category is my favorite series of 2021. My second category is my favorite Greek mythology books in 2021. And then my fourth category is probably my own self-created category, and it's best Disney nostalgia of 2021. I'm a big Disney fan, okay? If we could just continue every single year to give me a little Disney love, my life will continue to be complete, okay? So I did read all of these kind of in a variety of formats. So I either read the physical book or the Kindle, or for a couple of them, I listened to the audiobook instead. So going into the first category, my favorite series, one of them has to be the Bridgerton series. So I just discovered this series like maybe at the beginning of November, maybe the middle of November really. It was my first time reading this Bridgerton series, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's from like the 90s or the 2000s. So it's a bit of an old one, but I hadn't gotten into it. There are 8 books in total, and basically we're following like the love/sex stories of all of the Bridgerton siblings. So people who might have watched this on Netflix might only recognize Daphne's story, who's, you know, on the cover of this book. But what I'm expecting those future seasons to be about is that we're going to follow now each of the Bridgerton siblings. So if that's correct, season 2 is going to follow Anthony, and he's the oldest Bridgerton sibling. Now, based on the books, I thought every time I kept reading onto another book, I was like, oh, that's my favorite. Daphne's is my favorite. Anthony's is my favorite. But now that I've made it pretty much to the end, I think that my 2 favorite out of the series is definitely Eloise's story and Colin's story. And I'm not going to put any spoilers as to why Colin's story is my favorite. But if you read it, you know, okay? We find out who Lady Whistledown is, and it is a delight. Now, on top of this just being one of my favorite book series for 2021, I have to give a special shout out to this because I think this might be my favorite thing in 2021, period, okay? I was so excited when I watched the Netflix series for Bridgerton because it was just chef's kiss. So good that I watched all of season 1 in one day. The next day, I'm like searching up more Bridgerton stuff. I remember I have the book. I start the book. By like the 3rd day, I already found out there is an unofficial Bridgerton musical album. Boom, I'm listening to it. to make sure that I'm just like really circling through the trifecta, I watched Bridgerton twice. Okay? Same week. By the end of that week, Saturday or Sunday, I had watched Bridgerton season 1 3 times. I had already gotten onto the 4th book, and I had probably listened to the album 12 times. So many times that even though I just discovered the album in November, one of the Bridgerton tracks became my most played song in 2021 from YouTube Music. I can't make this up. 33 times, okay? It hasn't even been a month since I found this album, and I listened to it 33 times. That means at minimum I listen to it like twice a day, which I can confirm is an absolute fact. Actually, I think that those are rookie numbers, okay? YouTube Music, you better count again, because I was listening to that shit like 3 times a day, at least. But I definitely would recommend the Bridgerton series. I just think it's so good. It has like a nice blend of that romantic 1800s, genre, really cute chemistry behind the characters, and just like so much drama, so much scandalous deliciousness. I would definitely recommend Bridgerton. So good. Read it, watch it, listen to it, breathe it, live it, do it. It really is a must read. I'm super excited to share this book. Oh, and by the way, the author of the Bridgerton series is Julia Quinn. I forgot to throw that in there, but I won't forget that for the next one. Okay, following along with my favorite books of 2021, still in the best series, is definitely the Breathless series. Shout out to my friend TR for putting me onto this series this year. It was delicious, okay? In case you don't notice all this like water, delicious, melty references, it is a delicious, I don't even know how many times I gotta say delicious for you to know that this was delicious, okay? It's a trilogy series. We're following 3 best friends as they kind of navigate their worlds, which is trying to have some really sexy, dominant scenes, and meeting a girl that finally makes them like fall in love and also fuck the shit out of her. So good. The chemistry between the guys, all like these rich, of course, these rich hunky billionaires, and the lady of their choice is just like so good. Really cute banter, really hot sex scenes. And each of the 3 books were still unique enough that it didn't feel like I was just reading the first book 3 different times. If anybody is looking for like another sexy erotica series to follow, the Breathless series is one that once you start, it is hard to put down, okay? So the Breathless series, Bridgerton. Absolutely my favorite series of 2021. So moving on to my next category, we're going into my favorite Greek mythology for 2021. Now, this is probably a very specific category as well, similar to the Disney ones, but it's because I really do like Greek mythology stories. I usually prefer them, I would say, in like movies and TV shows, because I just think that you could see it so much more creative than reading like the fucking Iliad or the Odyssey, which is fucking boring if you just read it like that. So I found some really interesting retellings of these Greek myth stories that we might know, and it's either showing it from a different perspective of like a character who was close to the hero that really told this original story, or was telling it from the perspective of kind of like the woman of Greek mythology, which I just thought made the stories that much more fascinating. The authors that wrote these Greek mythology books honestly just gave so much richness when describing like all of the detail in these stories, and just built great character arcs for their stories. So the first one is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. So I'm gonna just bloop, because I don't have this book right now. I told my friend that it was so good that the last time she came to my house, I just like shoved it in her hand. I was like, girl, you're gonna like this one, okay? It is so good. Ariadne is a retelling of the ancient Greek myth of Theseus and the Minotaur. So instead of looking at it from Theseus's perspective, we actually learn he's a fucking douchebag, because we get to see the story through 2 sisters, Ariadne and Phaedra, and basically we learn how he fucks both of their lives up, and kind of like what their journey is like to find each other again. So I don't even know how to tell that much more detail and without like spoiling the whole book, But basically, I think within the first 2 chapters, he just royally fucks up Ariadne and leaves her abandoned in a horrible position, okay? And then, like, that's not enough. He went home, had a good fucking sleep, and then came back and fucked over her sister. Listen, I don't stand for Theseus, okay? But I still, regardless, can you see I'm still upset about this story? Like, for real, Theseus, you was a bitch from page 1 to the last page. That is an art. I definitely recommend this story because honestly, it was just such a creative retelling. Or, you know, it's still the story of Theseus and the Minotaur. Like, all of that information is still same as the source, but being able to see it from the perspective of Ariadne and of Phaedra, we get to learn of their 2 totally different experiences and kind of where life took them. And the author even explores kind of like what that says about them as an individual, and you know how that kind of influences their decisions later on in the story. So it's never at any point where you feel like Ariadne and Phaedra are just making decisions that are so out of character. Everything about them just felt so authentic, which is why I loved reading this book. So just talking about it, actually all of these 3 like Greek mythology books, they were so good this year that like I just wish that I had that button in Men in Black that just wiped out my memory so I could read them for the first time all over again, because they were just so, chef's kiss, so good. Alright, I'm gonna bundle these next 2 Greek myth books together because they have the same author, and that's Circe and The Song of Achilles. Both of them are by Madeline Miller, and they were so good. They were so good that I thought that they were like suspiciously good. So I started Googling and just like trying to find out if she just added a bunch of bullshit that wasn't in the original Greek story in order to make it that much better. And no, I respected this author even more because I found out that she loved these stories so much and she wanted to keep the books so true to the source that she actually like was studying the different Greek myth stories that were going to appear in her books, just to make sure that she kept like as much detail to the source as possible. So that, listen, throw the Iliad out, throw the Odyssey out, just throw those bitches out, okay? I need more books like this that are gonna give me all the detail that I was missing from those fucking poems and shit, and something that's actually gonna be like captivating. So which one do I even talk about first? Okay, I'll talk about Song of Achilles first because that was the first one I found before Circe, and I actually found them for free on YouTube. Sometimes people just upload a whole audiobook and then delete it a week later. So if you jump on that shit and you're on there for a week, you can get a free audiobook, okay? Hashtag not sponsored by YouTube. But both of those books, when I went on YouTube, they were only like 10 to 12 hours of audiobook. That's a piece of cake.
You underestimate my power. Don't try it.
When thinking about Achilles, we're usually thinking of it from his perspective. This great hero and the Trojan War, you know, defeated all of these, Spartans, whatever. Defeated all of the other people in the Trojan War, all to get a little puncture in his ankle, or, you know, in his Achilles heel, if you will, and then dies, okay? You also learn that he had a cousin who died, and he cared so much that it like was what made him want to fight Hector in the first place. So you're like, all right, cool. Like, I mean, I like my cousin, but I don't know if I'm like gonna go start a fight and kill somebody for my cousin. But you know, that's just me. The Song of Achilles tells us that was not his cousin. That was his lover. At least I don't think that was his cousin. That was definitely his lover, but we don't condone cousin loving on this channel. So we find out that Patroclus is Achilles' lover. From like when they were teens, they met kind of like training, working somewhere, and they end up spending the rest of their lives together, going into the Trojan War together. And Patroclus is kind of like the meeker, softer version, and Achilles has always been like, listen, I'm trying to be a legend, so I'm gonna battle hard, party hard. You already know Achilles life all day, okay? So In this story, we get to see all of this from Patroclus's perspective. So we get to see what it was like when he was living with his father, kind of getting pushed to the side because he was the soft one, until later on when he's actually just like basically kicked out, and that's where he ends up going to meet Achilles. So at first it just seems like such a strange pairing because they just seem to have such opposite personalities. But Achilles really sees a lot in Patroclus, and Patroclus really looks up to Achilles. So he's kind of like, all right, I want to be better because Achilles is better, So like it's just all together. They have such cute chemistry throughout the book. No spoilers. I thought the story was really good, especially between Patroclus and Achilles. There was a lot of good chemistry, and honestly, they were just like couples goals to the max. So the ending was super sad and then happy when they finally got to find each other again, but that one almost broke my heart. Song of Achilles. Then I finished it. I'm like, oh my god, Song of Achilles was amazing. This author, phenomenal. This audiobook, 12 out of 10. Okay, what do I do? Well, the next one pops up, Circe. I'm like, all right, say less. I don't even fucking know what it's about. Same author, YouTube, free, 1 week, 12 hours. I'm in it. Whew, I didn't know what I had signed up for, because I don't know if this is, I don't know if these are fighting words, but Circe was an even better book than Song of Achilles. Now, Song of Achilles was already just super good, okay? I am not discrediting that. But I felt like I just felt like Circe was my spirit like, what is it called? My spirit goddess, really. Like, in the beginning of the book, she's the daughter of Helios, who's the sun god. And all of his other children, because he got like 10, these gods always having 10 billion children and shit. So she's the one that seems like she's the least powerful of the goddesses compared to some of the other goddesses. So she's kind of like grown up in Olympus, kind of discarded, she finally is like almost falling in love with somebody, and when she uses some of her power to help him, he just ditches her. Okay, again, the men in Greek mythology. What? I don't know, that guy. And who's the one from Ariadne? Fucking Theseus. Get out of here. All right. But so Circe gets fucked over, and she turns his fiance into like a sea dragon, a sea monster, on some ultimate karma shit. So now that she done practiced some witchcraft, and she already is just kind of like discarded in the bottom of Olympus, she is officially banned. They banned her to some abandoned island, and fine, go be a witch over there then. Bye. So she does. At first she's real angry, but then she's like, wait a second, an abandoned island by myself where I could just practice my magic and witchcraft and become even stronger? And I get fucked over by men? Okay, yeah, sign me up. And honestly, Circe, sign me up too. Alright, I told you, she's my spirit goddess. Alright, she knows. Alright, when people out here acting crazy, go to an abandoned island and practice your magic, bitch. That's how you do it. That is what makes this book something that I highly, highly recommend. And see, this is why I had to compile so many, because they're all my freaking favorite book of 2021, and I can't decide, okay? But Circe was a really, really fucking good one, okay? My spirit animal out here practicing her magic, understanding her value, and seeing her worth. We stand. All right, so going into the last category, best Disney nostalgia, okay? Because I love Disney, okay? I'm a Disney stan. I was born with Disney. I will die with Disney. But I still love the classics. And I have a couple of series that I just, anytime that they release a book, I have to jump on it, because it delivers a like kind of a different story than what I originally knew about something of some of my characters that I've known for like my whole life, 20 plus years. And so if there's new information about them that I haven't learned in the last 25, 26 years, I want to fucking know it now, okay? So the first book is Go the Distance by Jen Catalina. This one actually came out on my birthday this year, so it was pretty awesome. Love this series. It's considered a twisted tale series, and there's actually a lot of books in this series. And what it does is it takes your original Disney story and then it creates one twist, one change, and like the details of the story that end up impacting everything in that hero's life. So they've this book has come out for, I think, Frozen. It's come out for Alice in Wonderland, obviously, like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. I think even Snow White. Rapunzel, I read the Rapunzel one this year too, but my ultimate shout out goes to Hercules. And okay, this might be kind of a cheating option because this could also fall under best Greek mythology, except this story is totally fake. But I'm lumping it in with Disney. But this time, so what we're saying is Megara at the end of Hercules, okay? I'm going to take you back to, when did this movie come out? 1995? Someone put that here, all right? I'm going to take you back to this time. Hercules has just come out, okay? See him on the screen. He just finished beating up Hades. He went to the underworld. He saves Megara, okay? He starts shining like a thick bronze goddess. And he floats up into Olympus with Megara. He goes to the gates and he's like, all right, Megara, let's go. And they're like, fuck that bitch. She's a mortal, so she cannot come in here. And then Hercules is like, well, then I guess Earth is where I belong because I love her. And it's so romantic and there's music and it's like, ah! Except the start of this book, Zeus was like, no. He said, fuck no. I don't think that you're going to be on Earth. I just waited so long to have you here. Fuck that bitch. So, and then Hercules is like, well, damn, Meg, Dad said no, so guess I got to go to Olympus. Bye. The men in Greek mythology. I don't know. I don't know. But then Hera, the wife of Zeus, comes over and he's like, she's like, yo, for real, fuck Zeus and fuck Hercules. If you want to be in Olympus, you're gonna need to do something that makes you a hero, aka then you'll become a goddess, okay? Now the task I'm gonna give you is don't be petty now, Meg, but do you remember that ex that like you sold your soul for and that's why you're working with Hades forever and shit? Yeah, well, he had a wife right after you, but she died. So I'm gonna need you to go to the underworld, rescue her from the underworld, and so she can get back together with your ex, okay? And then we're good. Then you can be in Olympus and we can just party, you already know. And Meg's like, no. Fuck that guy. I've been working with Hades for all this fucking time because of that guy. So that is the story, okay? Scene set. So this book follows all of her adventures, finally like coming to terms with the fact that she's gonna do this quest, then figuring out how she's gonna do this quest. I just feel like in the original Disney movie, there wasn't a lot of backstory that we got from Meg. We knew that her dress was purple. We knew that she sold her soul to Hades. We knew that she sold her soul to Hades because of some dude. And we knew that she thought Hercules was Wonder Boy. If you could fill in anything else, tell me. But no, that's all we found out at that time. So what I loved about this book is that I just felt like we got so much backstory filled in for Meg. We really got to understand, like, obviously what drove her to sell her soul to Hades in the first place. I think my husband's here. Anyways, also in the Disney nostalgic category is Cold Hearted by Serena Valentino. I love this Disney villain book series. So basically the author goes into what is the origin story of a specific Disney villain and like what was the turning point that made them become a villain. So she's done like the evil queen from Snow White, she's done the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, she's done Maleficent, she's done Ursula, and She's even done Cruella de Vil, and one of my favorites before this one was Mother Gothel's. That one was super good. At the time, Mother Gothel's Disney origin story was my favorite thus far. But once Cold Hearted came along, I think I finished this book in maybe a day or two. And I remember it only took me that long because every single time I finished a chapter, I closed it and I was like, this book is going to be over too fast. And then I will have read it already. And I want to keep reading it, but I don't want to finish it. I just want to keep reading it forever. Obviously, that didn't happen. I finished it. It was super good, super worth it. So we're diving into the story of Cinderella's evil stepmom, except we learned that she wasn't the original villain of that story. Cinderella's dad was a gold digger, liar. So he finds Lady Tremaine, knows that she got a lot of money, and so he basically just like charms her, gets her to marry him after like barely a weekend of knowing him. And the day she shows up to his house to like figure out, well, okay, what's going on with this wedding shit, he's like, get back in the car, we're getting married right fucking now, okay, right now, don't even go inside yet, like, we're gonna get married. He done catfish Lady Tremaine into thinking he was this charming, sweet, rich, great daddy, and she found out that he was this broke bitch, and he's so mean to her, so like he keeps calling her daughters ugly, which I mean it might have been true, but keep that opinion to yourself, you know? He just treats Cinderella like she is the goddess, the moon, wonderful. And I get it, like that's his daughter, but that was supposed to be his wife and he was treating her like shit. And then Lady Tremaine at one point is like, why do you hate me so much? Like, why did you even marry me? And he's like, oh, well, you're cheaper than a maid. Like, I'd have to pay a maid, but you come with money, so that seemed like a no-brainer right there. So he's a self-appointed gold digger. He knows what's up. He don't give a fuck, okay? So from that perspective, like now seeing what a piece of shit he was, I just felt like they did my Lady Tremaine wrong, okay? All these years that I spent hating Lady Tremaine, like she didn't deserve it, okay? Well, maybe she did. She didn't have to be a bitch to Cinderella, but like she didn't have to be done like that, okay? But I recommend this whole book series, honestly. The Disney villain origin stories, especially if you're someone who like love Disney, might have been a little darker, so you like Disney villains, then this one is the one for you, for sure. So this one, I wasn't sure if I was going to include it in this list, but I have to give a special shout out to the Wicked Villain series by Katie Roberts. Spicy, okay? I never thought in my life that I would hear the word like Disney villain erotica series. At this point, you just Mad Libs, all right? You just a madman, just whatever words, just throwing it together, all right? We talking pancake toothbrushes, whatever. No, but Wicked Villain erotica is actually really fucking hot, okay? Jafar and Jasmine, Hook and Tinkerbell, Belle, Gaston and the Beast, Hercules, Meg and Hades. I mean, yes, okay. I didn't know that I was interested in this. I didn't know that I wanted to know this, but now I do, and I can't unknow it. And now you can't either. So that one is a good one. Overall, 2021, great reading year. Super, super happy with it. I highly recommend any of the books that I mentioned. There's still a lot of books that I haven't mentioned even for this year that were still really, really good. But we don't got all the time in the world. But sometimes I'll put like pictures of whatever I'm reading on my Instagram, and sometimes I'll highlight them in my stories. So if ever you're if you like any of these books and you think that, you might be interested in another read I have, then definitely follow me on Instagram and you might see one that really catches your interest. Share whatever your favorite read was for 2021 in the comments below, because I'm already starting my TBR list for next year because it's only a few weeks away. So any good books that you guys have that I need to get my hands on, let's do this.